Gavin's 30th birthday, in front of everyone, I was forced to drink strong liquor by his crush. It's more fun if she's drunk. Do you want to see? Some people were worried. President Gavin, is this really okay? Gavin's tone was indifferent. It's fine, she has dementia anyway. She won't remember anything by tomorrow morning. I was led by his hand, like an obedient puppet. Because no matter how he treated me, the next morning, I would only remember how much he loved me. Chapter 1. Gavin's 30th birthday was celebrated with many guests. There were old classmates, and many people I didn't know. During dinner, a group of people started playing Truth or Dare. President Gavin, when are you and Summer getting married? Summer is me. I have been with Gavin for many years, from starting from scratch to achieving success. We still haven't gotten married. We'll see, there's no rush. Gavin's tone was casual, not even willing to mention it. Because his crush, Angela, was sitting opposite. She had returned from abroad specifically for Gavin. I heard Gavin had already arranged a position for her in the company. Angela caressed her wine glass, seemingly drunk. Can I ask President Gavin a personal question? Is the person you like here? As soon as she said this, everyone started making noise. Gavin held my hand in front of her. The person I love is only Summer. Angela's expression froze. She looked stunned, then bitterly said, okay. Only I knew that Gavin was squeezing my hand so hard, it almost broke. He was eager for Angela to break down and beg him to get back together. In the next round, it was my turn. Angela, unwilling to give up, pleaded with Gavin with misty eyes. President Gavin, can she do a dare? I looked at Gavin in disbelief. He knew the dare was to drink a glass of 56-degree vodka. But Angela's plea was enough for Gavin to abandon everything. Sure. Angela, excited, pulled out a chair and brought over a glass of liquor. It's more fun if she's drunk. Do you want to see? Back in school, Angela tricked me into drinking, stripped me of my clothes afterward, and even took photos. I had always remembered that. I panicked and picked up my bag. I'm not playing anymore, I want to go home. Angela, with unexpected strength and the help of several others, grabbed my arm. Summer, you need to accept your loss. Gavin, don't do this, I can't drink. Gavin sat at the table, not even bothering to lift his eyelids. If you do as she says, I'll marry you. Angela pinched my jaw and poured the strong liquor down my throat. I coughed violently. Some old classmates were worried. President Gavin, is this really okay? Gavin mocked, it's fine, she has dementia anyway. She won't remember anything by tomorrow morning. I choked and coughed, then slapped Gavin hard. The room went silent. A red handprint appeared on Gavin's face. Angela gasped, about to rush over. Gavin pushed her away with a cold face. It's fine, I'm used to it. Chapter 2. Actually, I only found out about my illness this morning. On Gavin's birthday, I was happily making a birthday cake when he snatched the ingredients from my hands and threw them into the trash. Don't bother, I don't like it. He used to like it a lot. I cautiously asked, Gavin, are you angry? He lowered his head and handed me his tie. Summer, help me tie this. Before he finished speaking, I wet myself. The living room was a mess because of me. The dripping liquid left me stunned for a moment. What's happening to me? Gavin's originally calm face instantly tensed. In the end, he just squatted down and silently cleaned the floor. He didn't say a word the whole time. I followed him helplessly, feeling lost. Gavin, I don't know what's wrong with me. He washed his hands many times in the bathroom before saying, you're sick. When he said that, I saw an uncontrollable disgust on his face. I thought, if it weren't for the hardships I had shared with him for so many years, Gavin would probably want to break up with me. After Gavin went to work, it took me a long time to accept the fact that I was sick. I felt uneasy, so around noon, I went to Gavin's company to find him. But I saw Angela downstairs at his company. She looked like she had fallen, covered in dirt, with Gavin's expensive coat draped over her shoulders. Her eyes, when looking at Gavin, were full of lingering affection. Gavin pretended to be indifferent, but as soon as Angela lowered her head, he stared at her silently, lost in thought. And then, tonight's incident happened. Chapter 3. When we got home from the party, it was already very late. Gavin suddenly informed me. In a few days, Angela will come over to see you. Be good, don't argue with her. In just one day, I had taken in so much, my emotions were on the verge of collapse. Why is she coming to see me? To see when I'll die? Summer, don't throw a tantrum. I know. I'm sick. No matter how you treat me, I'll forget everything the next day. After a good night's sleep, I'll still love you like before, right? Gavin, I'm the one suffering. Why can't I get angry? If she dares to come over, I'll kill her. Gavin touched the back of my neck, applying slight pressure, forcing me to look up at him. His eyes were gentle, smiling as he said, Summer, you can make a fuss all you want, but this is between us. Don't hurt others, okay? Is he feeling sorry now? I smashed almost everything on the antique shelf. The room was a mess. But Gavin wasn't angry. If that's not enough, there's more in the bedroom, and if that's not enough, I can buy more. Smash as much as you want. His cold violence drove me crazy. I bit into Gavin's flesh, drawing blood. Gavin frowned slightly, carrying me into the bedroom, whispering in my ear. You little lunatic, behave tonight. This month, you've already broken up with me 18 times. Each time, you don't remember. Summer, for the rest of your life, it will be like this. Chapter 4. Gavin was wrong. I have always been a determined person. When I was pursuing him, I could take the subway across the entire city. When I decided to leave, I could stay up all night. I repeated everything he had done to me 1,000 times, afraid I would forget it all after a night's sleep. At dawn, Gavin got up to take a call. It was from Angela. I knew she was inviting Gavin to have breakfast at her place on his way to work. Gavin gently put on his clothes, saying, "Wait for me." The door closed softly. I opened my eyes and quietly took out the video camera from the drawer. I recorded everything that happened yesterday, word for word. To remind myself, I must leave. In the process, I unexpectedly found some old videos. It turned out, this wasn't the first time I discovered Gavin's infidelity. On my birthday, Gavin accompanied Angela to the obstetrics and gynecology department. The prescription included folic acid and a prenatal checkup form. On our anniversary, I found a reservation for a 5-star restaurant in Gavin's car, along with 2 movie tickets for a private cinema. The movie was called Ambiguity. On the same day, I looked at the camera, red-eyed, and said, "I'm pregnant, but I don't want to tell Gavin." The video froze on an ultrasound report. But last night, to please Angela, Gavin let her force me to drink. A sharp pain spread from my heart, turning into excruciating agony. It made me tremble all over. I suddenly felt a strong urge to confront Gavin, not wanting to wait a moment longer. So I ran to his company. As I pushed open his office door, Angela's suppressed sobs came from inside. "I regret it, Gavin." Gavin said, "Summer's illness isn't better yet." "I know, but I don't want to wait anymore. The person I love is right in front of me, yet I have to endure." "Shut up." Gavin's sudden cold shout scared me. "Angela, don't ever say that in front of me again." The secretary ran over to stop me. "Summer, President Gavin has a guest, it's inconvenient for you to go in. Please wait outside." "Okay." I changed my mind and wandered to the lobby in a daze. I took out the expensive lipstick Gavin had given me and started drawing on the bulletin board. A few minutes later, the secretary screamed and rushed over to hug me. "Summer, what are you doing?" On the huge bulletin board, I had circled their photos. Beside them, I wrote 4 big words in bright red lipstick: cheap man and slut. Angela came out just in time to see this. Her face turned pale, and she frantically wiped with a tissue. "Summer, what do you want?" I curved my lips. "What do you think I want? You little homewrecker." The last 2 words, I said slowly and deliberately, gritting my teeth. Angela's face changed slightly. She scolded the people around her. "What are you standing there for? Clean it up." Everyone there listened to her, as if they had already accepted her status. When Angela turned around again, I noticed the familiar hairpin on her head. It was the one I left in Gavin's office last time. She had clearly taken a shower, her hair still wet. I reached out to grab that hairpin. Angela screamed as if startled, then turned around and pushed me hard. The force made me crash into the desk, knocking over folders and the printer to the floor. I sat in the mess, stunned. A few seconds later, a dull pain came from my lower abdomen. The pain made me tremble all over, and I barely stood up with the help of a kind person. In the chaos, Angela frowned, leaning close to my ear. "Stop acting crazy. I warn you, I am not a homewrecker." She firmly gripped my wrist, her tone commanding. "Summer, apologize to me right now, in front of the whole company." As I shook with rage at her shamelessness, I suddenly felt a warm flow between my legs. Angela's attitude abruptly changed. She started crying loudly, begging me. "Summer, please let me go. I beg you. I really have nothing improper with President Gavin. Please, stop tormenting me." A hand tightly gripped my wrist from behind. The force pulled me back. Gavin slammed me against the wall, gritting his teeth. "Summer, didn't I tell you not to hurt others?" This was the first time Gavin had ever yelled at me. Angela's sobs were pitiful, like a little kitten, extremely aggrieved. Gavin, with a stern face, looked around at everyone present. "I have no immoral relationship with this lady. If anyone spreads rumors again, I will spare no effort to pursue legal action." See, he finally got anxious. Drip. A drop of blood fell at my feet. Gavin's secretary exclaimed, "President Gavin, Summer, she's bleeding." Gavin looked down, seeing the blood trailing down my leg. He stared at me in shock. I forced a bitter smile and said, "Gavin, Angela caused our baby's death. Tell me, should she die?" Whispers spread around us. What happened to her? Did she lose control? Only then did I realize it wasn't just blood. Blood mixed with some unknown liquid, dripping down my legs to the floor. This was probably the most humiliating moment of my life. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Angela looked panicked. I thought she was going to. Gavin ignored her, took out a handkerchief, and squatted down. He gently grasped my ankle. "Don't move, let me clean it up." Soon, his tidy, immaculate suit was stained. His hand holding my ankle was also wet. "President Gavin." Angela started. "Get out." Gavin suddenly roared, startling me, "Everyone, get the hell out." Angela sobbed and ran out. People slowly dispersed. I stood there. "Gavin, if you think I've embarrassed you, just say it." He lowered his head, veins bulging on his temples. In the end, he only said, "Summer, we're going to the hospital." "And Angela? Do whatever you want." Gavin's voice was light, as if too tired to say another word to me. "I don't want to see her again." "Fine, I'll make her leave." Chapter 5. After coming back from the hospital, Gavin and I entered a cold war. He wouldn't even let me leave the house. In his words, I had no family and no ability to take care of myself. I couldn't survive without him. He was terrifyingly cold, despising me yet pretending to be loving. He came home on time every day, eating dinner with me. One day, I noticed he was wearing a ring on his ring finger. It was a style I hated the most. But it was Angela's favorite. "Can you take it off? It's really disgusting." Gavin paused, put down his bowl, and silently took off the ring, putting it in his pocket. But he wouldn't throw it away. I couldn't eat anymore and left the table. "Summer, let's get married." Gavin suddenly called from behind. In the past, I would have been thrilled. But now I knew it wasn't genuine. Gavin's company was at a critical stage of going public. The last thing he needed was a scandal. He wanted to marry me not out of remorse or newfound conscience. I turned back and mocked him. "Marry you, help stabilize things, successfully go public, then live happily ever after with Angela." "Gavin, you're dreaming." I didn't expect Gavin's revenge to come so quickly. I woke up at noon to the sound of noise downstairs. Opening the door, I found many strangers in the house. Angela had slipped in unnoticed. She sat in the dining room chair with her arms crossed, wearing my slippers, directing people to move things. She carried herself like the lady of the house. "That bed, those blankets, the clothes in the wardrobe, throw them all away." The nursery, which had been tightly closed since the baby was lost, was now opened. Everything I had meticulously prepared was being thrown out. What are you doing? I demanded. Angela looked up at me, a smile slowly spreading across her face. You're awake. Gavin asked me to get people to dismantle this nursery and remodel it. So you wouldn't feel sad seeing it. Oh, and this room will be empty, so I can live here from now on. My brain buzzed, my heart raced, and blood rushed to my head. Gavin had promised me that Angela wouldn't appear in front of me. Now, she was going to live in our home. I ran barefoot through the debris to the nursery downstairs, seeing the broken crib. Among the wreckage were the little clothes and shoes Gavin and I had chosen together for our baby. But the amulet I had spent 3 months embroidering for our baby was missing. Where's the amulet? I demanded. Angela shrugged. I didn't like it, so I tossed it. Where did you throw it? Probably in the garden, maybe in the pool. It's just a useless trinket, how should I remember? If I can't find that amulet, you and Gavin can both die. I shoved her aside, ignoring the need for shoes, and ran toward the garden. Angela stood at the window, mocking me. Summer, look at yourself now. Do you still think you deserve Gavin? His company is about to go public. The president of a listed company, attending all kinds of high-end events, needs a dignified and gentle wife. But you're a lunatic. What else can you do besides wetting yourself in public? Please, stop using your history with him to bind Gavin. We'll give you as much money as you want, just let him go, okay? Look at yourself now, what right do you have to expect him to keep loving you? As dusk approached, I knelt in the garden's overgrown bushes, searching everywhere, ignoring Angela's taunts. My white nightgown was filthy. My legs and feet were scratched and bleeding. When I couldn't find it in the bushes, I turned to the swimming pool. As I stood up, I crashed into someone's arms. Gavin hugged me tightly, his voice cold and stern. How did you get yourself so dirty? I turned and gripped his clothes tightly, yelling. Gavin, I just miscarried, and you're in such a hurry to dismantle the nursery. Thunder rumbled in the distance, signaling rain. The air was stifling. Gavin raised his hand to touch my face, looking away, unable to meet my gaze. The baby's gone. Keeping the room will only make you sad. Angela suddenly ran over, crying, President Gavin, she seems to really hate me. Her gaze is terrifying. Gavin didn't respond but kept his eyes fixed on her. Unwilling to witness their mutual affection, I shoved Gavin aside and headed for the pool. Summer, it's dangerous over there. Gavin grabbed my wrist, trying to pull me back. A surge of anger flared within me, and I bit into his wrist, hearing him grunt in pain. He didn't move or let go. The taste of blood began to seep out. The rain finally broke through the clouds, pouring down. Ripples formed on the water's surface. Angela followed, feigning concern, and held an umbrella over me. Listen to President Gavin and go inside, okay? If you catch a cold, you might wet yourself again. She said it with a provocative look, smug at winning Gavin's trust. The rain intensified, and the pool's water began to overflow. The dark water, without lights, looked like a beast's gaping maw. I suddenly grabbed Angela's hair and pushed her toward the pool. Summer. Gavin shouted angrily, squatting down and pulling me hard. I didn't budge. I put all my weight on Angela. She flailed in the pool, her hair floating, struggling violently. Soon, she stopped moving. I released her, exhausted. Angela lay by the pool like a dying dog. Gavin, pale, pulled Angela out. He sat by the pool, holding her in his arms, patting her back urgently. Cough it out, it'll be okay. His hands shook, and he was incoherent. Angela, without opening her eyes, began to sob. Don't let me see her. I don't want to. Anger flickered in Gavin's eyes. Summer, go back. Then he gently patted Angela. I'll take you to the hospital. Can you still talk? I lunged at Angela again. Summer. Gavin blocked me, protecting Angela. The next second. Splash. I lost my balance and was pushed into the deep water. Water surged from all sides, submerging my senses. Before sinking to the bottom, I saw Gavin's cold gaze. Because I had hurt Angela, he had struck me. Chapter 6. The nurse told me this was my 8th hospitalization this year. After falling into the water, my body became very weak, and I often curled up under the blanket, shivering with a fever. It hurt every day when I got the fever-reducing injection. But I had no one to complain to. I didn't know what Gavin had told the doctors and nurses, but it seemed everyone assumed I was his wife. Disgusting. When the caregiver was talking to me, Gavin happened to call. She put it on speaker and held it to my ear. "Summer," Gavin's voice was hoarse, "eat your meal properly, or I'll come watch you eat." I looked up and saw him standing outside the glass window, watching me. Threatening me. I picked up the lunchbox and, in front of him, threw the whole thing into the trash can, saying, "Gavin, why don't you just die?" His face was sickly pale, and he didn't react to my words. "Really?" He laughed lightly, "Then I'll just have to watch you eat every day." Once my condition stabilized, I was moved from the intensive care unit to a VIP ward. From then on, I fell completely under Gavin's control. He would visit me every day, saying, "Summer, you need to get better." Watching the news about his company's upcoming IPO, I could predict my fate. After helping him stabilize public opinion and successfully go public, I would be sent to a mental hospital. Eat the apple. Gavin put a bowl with small pieces of apple in front of me. Taking advantage of his outstretched hand, I bit his wrist. The same spot as last time. The wound hadn't healed, and I bit it open again. I didn't let go until I tasted blood. Gavin didn't even blink. "Next time bite the other side. Biting the same spot will leave a scar." Yesterday, I tried poking his wound with a toothpick and sprinkling salt from a seasoning packet on it. So today, the toothpick and seasoning packet were gone. "Gavin, you really should have scumbag engraved on your face." Suddenly, Gavin grabbed my neck and kissed me. His kiss was fierce and rough, even biting my lip. Seeing me staring at him like an enemy, he smiled brightly. "I don't expect you to love me, it's enough if you just remember me." His touch made me feel nauseous. I slapped him. He turned his head slightly, asking softly, "Feeling better?" I smirked, "Not yet, unless you drown in the swimming pool." After saying that, I lowered the air conditioner temperature, crawled under the blanket, and watched him with only my eyes exposed. Already sick, Gavin turned even paler from the cold wind. "Just wait a bit, I'll leave after the nurse finishes the fourth." By the time it was done, an hour had passed. Gavin's face was blue and purple from the cold, coughing more severely. After that, he disappeared for several days. During that time, I received a call from Angela. Her voice was trembling with anger. "Can you stop tormenting Gavin? He's sick, with a high fever that won't go away." I then realized he really had jumped into the pool on that rainy night to find the child's talisman. Does that have anything to do with me? If you could help him, he wouldn't have to rely on me for his company's IPO ceremony. Too bad, a mistress like you is really not presentable. Angela angrily hung up the phone. I hoped with all my heart that Gavin would die from his illness, but things didn't go as I wished. Gavin survived and arranged for my discharge half a month later. In December, before Gavin's company went public, he took me away. Chapter 7. The plane arrived in Hong Kong at dusk. On the bustling streets, he held my hand, parading around. I didn't know why he was buying me so many things. Hats, clothes, bags. The best ones he dressed me in, and the extras he carried himself. "Don't pout, smile." Gavin seemed very happy, pinching my cheek and putting a plush hat on my head. Very beautiful. In the early days of his startup, I had accompanied Gavin to Hong Kong once. We didn't have much money then, couldn't afford a hotel room that cost 4 figures a night, nor a meal that cost 3 figures. Gavin held my hand, walking by Victoria Harbour, staring silently at a yacht chartered by a rich person. "Now," he told me, "Summer, I've chartered the entire yacht, do you want to see the night view?" I stood at the harbour, wearing a cute pink fox hat, and said coldly, "Whatever." Gavin smiled, "All right, just accompany me then." Tomorrow his company was going public, and tonight he must be overjoyed. Victoria Harbour at night was grand and splendid. I stood on the deck of the yacht, feeling the wind, with the music of a band playing behind me in the night sky. Gavin handed me a cup of hot milk. "Come inside and sit for a while, it's cold outside." I didn't move. "Summer, don't stand too far away, it's not safe." Gavin pulled me over, tying my wind-blown hair and tucking it into the warm plush hat. I stared at the dark sea and suddenly asked him, what would happen if I jumped from here? Your company's IPO ceremony would be interrupted, wouldn't it? Gavin paused, then bent down to hug me. Summer, his scent wrapped around me with the wind, if that's the case, I'll die with you. I laughed. What are you saying? Tomorrow is your big day, I won't jump. Gavin was also amused by me. Then let's go inside, there's your favorite piano performance. I let him hold my hand, walking to the center under the spotlight, watched by many people. The smooth piano music started playing. Gavin, as always, was elegant and handsome. He kissed my forehead. Summer, happy 10th anniversary. Turns out we had been together for 10 years. Is there a surprise? Gavin linked his arm with mine. Yes, but it's for tomorrow night. I said, Gavin, I have a surprise for you too. Gavin's black eyes fixed on me. Really? Yes. Sometimes I found Gavin very ridiculous. From youth until now, everything had changed, so why insist on being a couple only in appearance? Gavin's phone rang. No need to guess who it was. I smiled and said, go ahead and answer it, don't delay your important matters. Gavin kissed my forehead and walked away to take the call. As he turned, the smile on my face disappeared, and I walked towards the outside of the cabin. The cold wind swept through the decadence of Victoria Harbor. I reached the railing, took off the high heels he gave me, and placed them neatly by the side. The cold seeped in from my feet. Not far away, Gavin was on the phone. Don't worry, I'll marry you when I get back. See, he had always been planning for his future with Angela. It had started raining without me noticing. I took off the hat, touched it, and threw it into the darkness. Watching it hook onto the side of the boat, bobbing with the waves. I turned and walked to the window of the cabin, wrapping my down jacket tightly. On my phone screen was the message I had sent to the police. Gavin had kidnapped me. After tonight, he would be ruined. A few minutes later, Gavin suddenly rushed to the deck. Has anyone seen my wife? He grabbed a passing crew member, his voice suddenly panicked. A large crowd followed behind, babbling incoherently, and said haltingly, she walked out. I sat still, shrinking in the corner, watching them frantically search for someone. Gavin saw my shoes left on the deck, and his face turned ashen in an instant. Someone pointed to the sea. I saw her hat down there. Gavin suddenly went crazy and started taking off his clothes, but he was held back by the people around him. Sir, we should leave this to the professionals. Gavin began to roar, she's my wife. Who else would sincerely save her but me? Let me go. I'm going to find her. The crowd held on to his waist and dragged him back. Calm down. You must stay calm. It's too dark, you won't find anything by jumping in. Gavin's eyes turned red, almost pleading, I can find her, please let me go. I watched Gavin perform in front of everyone and sneered sarcastically. How did I never notice that Gavin's acting was this good? Sir, you must calm down, we'll call the police to help. Gavin slumped to the ground, saying nothing. The man, seeing that Gavin had stopped struggling, loosened his grip and took out his phone to call the police. The next second, Gavin flipped over the railing. The sound of him hitting the water was muffled by the thick night. I stood up blankly, the smile on my face disappearing. The wind blew across the empty deck. Gavin was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 8. I was eventually found at the door of a storage room on the side of the cruise ship. The search team worked all night and found Gavin in the sea, urgently sending him to a nearby hospital. Summer, your husband is still in critical condition. Regarding your accusations against him, we'll have to wait until he's out of danger to investigate. But don't worry, our colleagues will protect you throughout. In the police station, I watched the news coverage of the incident for a long time before speaking. He knew he would die if he jumped, so why did he jump? The policewoman looked puzzled. Maybe because you're his wife? I was noncommittal. Don't contact me about his treatment. He has a lover named Angela. You can contact her. The next day, the policewoman came to find me. Summer, we didn't find any contact information for Angela on Gavin's phone. Could you provide it? I shook my head. I don't have it. Gavin protected her well. We didn't even have contact information. But as far as we know, Gavin had no other relatives besides you. I replied irritably, how could that be? Go to his company and ask his secretary. They'll tell you how to contact Angela. Summer, you have Alzheimer's. Your doctor told us that you have long believed Gavin was having an affair with a woman named Angela and have acted out violently because of it. Unfortunately, she is fictional and does not exist. I listened to her words blankly, then suddenly laughed. Has Gavin gone to such lengths to protect her? The policewoman frowned, looking serious. I'm not joking with you. Gavin has no relatives. You need to decide whether to continue his treatment. Enough, I stood up, a bit agitated. If you called me here for this, then let me tell you, I want Gavin to die. The policewoman sighed and handed me a phone. You'll temporarily keep Gavin's things. Contact me if you need anything. When I left the police station, it was raining. The air was cold and damp. I wrapped my scarf around me and sat on a random bench on the street. I took out Gavin's phone. I turned on the screen, and the fingerprint unlock appeared. I placed my thumb on it. It unlocked successfully. I didn't even remember when I left my fingerprint on his phone. Gavin's phone screen wasn't cluttered. There were hundreds of contacts in the address book. I typed in Angela's name, but found nothing. I tried many different search methods, all to no avail. I closed my eyes, unable to remember Angela's face. Until I found a private album. A dialog box popped up on the screen, asking for a password. I instinctively entered my birthday. When the password was accepted, my heart sank. What came into view were one video after another. Blood started to rush, pounding my eardrums over and over. I clicked on the first one. It was the autumn of 2015. The video played automatically. A joyful voice came from the speakers. Gavin, happy 3rd anniversary. Congratulations on my successful graduation, and congratulations to Gavin for founding a company. I immediately recognized my own voice. I was the one who filmed this video. However, I no longer remembered this moment. In the candlelight, a much younger Gavin looked up and stared at the camera. A giggle spilled from behind the camera. Why are you looking at me? Do you prefer the south or the north side of the city? What? I'm going to buy a house. Pick a place you like, and we'll settle down. The me in the video screamed and jumped onto Gavin, hugging his neck and kissing him. In a dim, unseen corner, Gavin's earlobes quietly turned red. The second video was from the spring of 2016. Gavin was drunk. I was excited, holding the camera up to his face. Today, we're interviewing President Gavin. Who did you drink with until this late? Gavin closed his eyes and grabbed my hand, pressing it to his chest. He mumbled something. What did you say? I didn't hear clearly and moved the camera closer. 200,000. I earned 200,000. Call Summer over to oversee him and collect the final payment. I playfully poked his lips and eyelashes with my hair. Why should Summer oversee it? What's in it for her? Gavin mumbled, deposited in her account. Then the camera flipped over. It fell to the ground, facing the trash can. Gavin's head was in the trash can, the sound of him vomiting clearly heard. From outside the camera's view, I could be heard frantically shouting, "Hold on, I'll take you to the hospital." Over 100 videos documented our past. From when Gavin first started his company to its gradual growth. Our filming locations changed from cheap rental apartments to a condo and a large villa. Among them, not a single video mentioned Angela's name. As the sky darkened, the neon lights on the street flickered on. I felt a bit cold, tightened my scarf, and clicked on the next video. 2018. In this video, Gavin and I were sitting in front of the camera together. I was smiling brightly. Gavin, however, had a solemn expression. From our clothing, it was clear that we had become much wealthier. I nudged Gavin and said with a smile, "What's the matter?" "Smile." Gavin lowered his eyes, looked at me seriously, and patted my head. I turned back to the camera, and as I smiled, my eyes turned slightly red. I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's today. I always thought it was just poor memory, never expected such a disease to happen to someone as young as me. The doctor said if controlled well, the disease would progress more slowly. I wanted to break up, but Gavin wouldn't let me. Gavin held me, stubbornly saying, "We will never separate. You should know that I will forget everything, including you. I will also yell and scream and do many irrational things. Gavin, you have a successful career. Your future shouldn't include a wife like me." Gavin choked up, "If one day you forget everything, the one who suffers won't be you. Summer, no matter what, I won't leave you. Let's get married today." I smiled and said, "I hid the household registration book. If one day I get better, I'll tell you where it is, and we'll get married." "I can't wait." Gavin's eyes were wet as he pleaded, "Just today, okay?" I kissed his lips. "Be good, listen to me. When my condition improves, I'll marry you." In the following videos, Gavin became the one filming. I became the protagonist in front of the camera. I was wearing an apron, proudly showing off my cooking in front of the bread oven. "What flavor of cake do you like?" I asked. Gavin secretly turned off the gas stove I had forgotten to switch off. "Lemon." I hummed a tune, "Then let's make lemon." "Oh, what are the lyrics to that song?" Gavin hummed the tune, singing along with me. In a dimly lit room, I curled up on the sofa, silently crying. The TV was showing a movie that had already ended. Gavin laughed. "Why are you crying?" I clutched a tissue, it was so touching. "If they show it in the theater, we must go see it." "Okay. Remember, it's the English version of Amour, not the Korean one." "Okay." In another scene, the kitchen counter was a mess. I was still in my apron, looking bewildered. "What flavor of cake do you like?" Gavin secretly threw away the cream and said, "I'm sorry, I forgot to buy the ingredients today. Let's eat out, okay?" "But it's your birthday. Don't you like eating cake?" He kissed me. "Eating cake makes you gain weight. You wouldn't like a chubby Gavin." I thought for a moment, then followed him to get dressed. As we left, I muttered, "Actually, a chubby Gavin would be quite cute." Later on, the videos started becoming shorter. Sometimes, I would suddenly have an accident on camera. Gavin would put down the camera and rush over to clean me up. "Gavin, I'm sorry." "Don't say sorry. It's not your fault, and you're not bothering me." Gradually, I started becoming more moody. One moment, I was talking nicely to Gavin. The next moment, I would suddenly throw things at him. In one video, I was shouting at a woman who had just come in. She covered her head and cried out in panic, "Summer, I'm Amelia, your best friend. Please, don't do this to me." I threw a small cake at her face. "Gavin, get your lover out of here." Minutes later, my suppressed sobbing could be heard in the video. "Gavin, please, let's break up. I don't want to act like a lunatic and lose my temper at you." "It's okay. I don't mind, Summer, I really don't mind. Next time, could you tell me that I have dementia, that I'm sick? If I knew, I would control myself." "Okay." Later on, the videos became Gavin's monologues. "This is Summer's third time being hospitalized this year. She's starting to hate me. She sees every woman around me as Angela and attacks them. Recently, she's been throwing tantrums because she thinks she's pregnant. The doctor suggested I send her to a nursing home, but I can't bear to. I've told her countless times that I love her, but she never remembers." Gavin's eyes reddened, and he lowered his head, taking a moment to steady his emotions. "Let's take a break for a while. Spend some time with her, take it slow, things will get better." In the next video, there were many people. It took me a while to realize it was Gavin's recent birthday party. "President Gavin, when are you and Summer getting married?" Gavin glanced at me, looking a bit lost. "No rush, let's talk about it later. When her health improves, we might have a wedding abroad." Later on, they started playing Truth or Dare at the dinner table. A woman across from Gavin pressed down on the round table, staring straight at him. "President Gavin, a personal question. Is the person you love here?" The whole room began to cheer. "President Gavin, think carefully before you answer. Amelia is family. Offending Summer's best friend could be troublesome." Gavin held my hand. "The one I love is only Summer." Amelia's eyes grew moist. "Okay, I hope you mean what you say." When it was my turn, Amelia softly asked, "Summer, it's time to take your medicine, okay?" The me across the table lowered my head, dazed, as if I hadn't heard anything. Amelia forced a strained smile and changed her tactic. "Summer, don't you like drinking? Let's drink, okay?" I finally reacted, lifting my head to look at her. Amelia seemed encouraged, took a deep breath, and brought the medicine over. "Drinking is fun, Summer, let's try it." I panicked and grabbed my bag. "I don't want to play anymore. I want to go home." Everyone stared at me in confusion. Amelia grabbed me, cupping my face, gently coaxing, "Be good, open your mouth, just this once, okay?" I began to struggle violently, almost knocking over the medicine bowl several times. Gavin listened to my cries, his lips pressed tight, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. "Summer, listen to her. Drink the medicine, and we'll get married." Amelia, using her strength and coaxing, managed to get the medicine into me. Several scratches I left on her hands started to bleed. "That's enough for today. We'll think of another way tomorrow." "President Gavin, is this really okay?" everyone asked worriedly. Gavin smiled bitterly. "It's okay. She'll forget it all by tomorrow anyway." Raindrops hit the awning, and I looked up, staring dumbly at the sky. In my mind, I couldn't piece together Angela's appearance. I found Amelia's name on my phone. I opened the chat history, and it was still from a long, long time ago. "Amelia, Gavin's birthday is coming up. I'm planning to surprise him." "What are you going to do?" "Invite his friends for a gathering. You're the life of the party, prepare some interesting questions." "Ha ha ha, I get it. You want to ask Gavin if he loves you in front of everyone, right? Leave it to me, sis, don't worry." At the end of 2022, I was alone on the streets of Hong Kong, crying uncontrollably. Chapter 9. Through a glass window, I saw Gavin with tubes all over his body. "Have you paid?" Faced with the doctor's question, I felt helpless. "I'm sorry, I can't remember the bank card password." "Try again. Your husband is in critical condition and needs you the most right now. If the fees remain unpaid, we won't be able to administer many medications." "Okay." I had little cash and no place to stay. I spent the whole day at the payment window, repeatedly entering the wrong password. The staff at the window said, "Miss, could you please stop disrupting the medical order?" In the evening, I used my last bit of change to buy 2 loaves of bread. Standing at the entrance of the ICU, I kept repeating, "For Gavin." Doctors and nurses hurried by. A nurse urgently pulled me aside. "Did you forget again? You need to pay the bill now, not buy bread." Seeing my blank expression, she sighed helplessly and left. Someone bumped into me, and the bread in my hands fell to the ground. I suddenly started crying. Like a useless person. The door in front of me opened. A nurse squatted down in front of me, handing me a stuffed toy. "Your husband woke up. He asked me to give this to you and told you not to be afraid or cry. Someone will come later to take you to the hotel." I held the toy, remembering only one thing: Gavin woke up. I waited for many days at the ICU entrance. No one could make me leave. When I was tired, I curled up on a small mat in the hallway and slept. When I woke up, I filled my stomach with the food the doctors gave me. I don't know how many days later, Gavin was wheeled out. I stood by his bed, holding the stuffed toy. Gavin had lost a lot of weight. Seeing me, he sighed. "What I feared most has come true. They've been bullying you while I was away, haven't they?" I cried out. "They wouldn't let me buy bread for you." "Don't cry," Gavin held my hand. "It breaks my heart to see you cry." I accompanied Gavin to a regular ward. Holding his hand tightly, I refused to leave. When strangers came in, I would shrink into a corner, trembling all over. Eventually, Gavin stopped letting people in. Sometimes, he would get up and go to the door. Through his loose hospital gown, I saw many scars. Pinched, bitten, hit. Some were still bruised, others just healing. I followed him and gently placed my hand on his neck, feeling his tension and stiffness. "Did I used to hit you?" Gavin slowly relaxed, adjusted his clothes. "No, you didn't. You were always good, never giving me trouble." I said weakly, "I tricked you into jumping off the cruise ship, causing your company to fail to go public." "That's not true." You remembered it wrong. Get a good night's sleep, you'll feel better. I nestled beside him and fell into a deep sleep. I had some jumbled dreams. In the dreams, I remembered what Amelia looked like. She was crying and arguing with Gavin in the office. I regret it. I shouldn't have let Summer stay with you. I want to take her abroad to find the best doctors. You think I haven't tried? If you tried, why isn't she better? I'm going crazy. She treats me like a stranger every day. The person I love is right in front of me, but I have to endure it, not even able to say a word to Summer. Gavin, do you think you're the only one who loves her? I do too. Shut up. Gavin's face turned cold. Amelia, don't ever say such things in front of me again. Later, I was scribbling crazily on the bulletin board. When Amelia rushed toward me, her face was green. She shielded my face, angrily shouting at the surrounding people, "Get out, stop filming. Or I'll sue you all." Summer, this is Gavin's company. Let's go home and talk, okay? I didn't listen. Instead, I reached out to push her. You mistress, go die. Amelia grabbed my offending hand, furious, stop it. I'm not a mistress. Summer, apologize to me now. I spat at her, in your dreams? If you dare show up in front of me again, I'll kill you. Amelia's face instantly turned pale, and she cried in anger, Summer, please wake up. Stop torturing me. When Gavin came down, I was pulling Amelia's hair and fighting. She was still trying to protect me from falling. But I still fell. Scraped my skin. Bled. And wet myself. That day, I said a lot of illogical, crazy things, hurting my family and friends. Gavin and Amelia had a huge argument. He wrapped me in clothes and took me to the hospital. I woke up from the dream, and the ward was quiet, with only Gavin on the phone, back to me. My wife is a patient. If you hadn't spoken so carelessly that day, she wouldn't have pushed you into the water. I was just joking. The woman's voice on the phone sounded familiar. Gavin's voice was cold, joking about calling my wife a burden. If it weren't for the villa's surveillance, I wouldn't even know what you did to her. The woman started screaming, I'm her sister. What's wrong with saying a few things to her? You think you're acting like a sister? Does your family think that because Summer is sick, I'd fall for you? Dream on. I deeply regret letting you comfort her. What you did to my wife is unforgivable. Aren't you afraid I'll report her and get her locked in a mental hospital? Gavin sneered, aren't you living well? I gave you the best treatment so you could be healthy and slander Summer instead of becoming a ghost. I will never let Summer bear a life on her conscience. If there's a life involved, it would be mine. I stood barefoot on the floor and called out to him, Gavin. Gavin's speech paused, and he silently hung up the phone. When he turned back, his expression was gentle. What's wrong? I finally understood why Gavin had always emphasized not to hurt others during those confused days. Was it her who talked to me at the villa that day? Gavin reached out to me and hugged me. Yes. I almost drowned her. It's okay. She won't die. But for pushing you into the water, I won't forgive her. He sighed softly. The doctor said dismantling the nursery could avoid further stimulation for you, so I invited your sister to help comfort you. I didn't expect she had her own plans. After I got sick, my family and friends gave up on me. Only Gavin hasn't given up. I leaned on Gavin's shoulder and whispered, I miss home. Can we go home? Chapter 10. After returning from Hong Kong, I often liked to sit alone in the corner, staring out the window. Since Gavin had been seriously ill, the company was now in chaos. He was so busy he barely had a moment to rest. We had hired a caregiver at home to look after me when Gavin wasn't around. I found movie tickets in Gavin's pocket, 2 for ambiguity. It turned out he wanted to watch it with me. Unfortunately, that day I was in a bad mood and took it out on Gavin, so we didn't go. There was also that ultrasound report showing everything was normal. I wasn't pregnant, but because of my delusions, I repeatedly troubled Gavin, setting up a nursery and going to the hospital to get folic acid. Everyone said Gavin no longer had any family. I was his only family. But I had caused him so much trouble. Summer, what are you looking at? It was February, and outside the snow was falling continuously. A few days ago, the pine tree outside the window had been crushed by the snow. Gavin had just come back from work, still carrying the smell of snow. It was a bit chilly. I picked up the half-knitted sweater in my hands. I was wondering if you'll be able to wear this before winter is over. No rush, Gavin sat down next to me by the window. I can always wear it next year. I leaned over and gently kissed him. Inadvertently, I touched the ring on his ring finger. Gavin flinched and was about to take it off, but I stopped him. I remember it. I unfolded his hand, looking at the ugly ring. I designed this sketch. Yes. Gavin lowered his eyes and pulled out another diamond-encrusted ring from his pocket. They are a pair. But last time I called it disgusting. It doesn't matter. If you don't like it, I'll hide it, and when you like it again, I'll wear it. I extended my ring finger. Put it on me. I like it very much. In the following days, I seemed to truly recover my old self. Gavin would sit with me, looking through old photos. He took me to revisit our past. He tirelessly patched up the holes in my broken memory, piecing together our history. During this time, I received a call from my sister, crying and begging me, "Summer, please ask Gavin to forgive me. I really know I was wrong." I didn't know what Gavin had done to her to make her so fearful and anxious. This anxiety affected me, causing me to accidentally hurt Gavin again. When I calmed down, I blocked her number. In spring, Gavin took me to see the cherry blossoms. The weather was warm, and my temper tantrums became less frequent. Gavin always smiled and praised me. "Summer, you're amazing, you've really improved a lot." But I knew the reason my temper improved was because I couldn't remember too many things. I didn't even remember why I was angry. On our anniversary morning, I got up and followed Gavin around. In just 10 minutes, I asked 5 times, "Who are you?" Gavin's expression almost broke, his smile looking very strained. "Summer, I'm your husband, Gavin." I started to frequently forget where I was going. Often waking up to find myself in the police station. Gavin would rush from some important meeting, holding me tightly. "It's okay, it's okay." We went through caregivers one after another. Because I only listened to Gavin. They were afraid of me and couldn't manage me. The doctors suggested Gavin send me to a nursing home. A place with security, surveillance, and plenty of professionals who could take care of me. Gavin refused. I'd rather keep her with me than let her go somewhere without me, feeling scared. Eventually, he started taking me to the company. During meetings, I would sit next to him, playing with building blocks. One day, while going to the bathroom, I overheard them mocking Gavin. The CEO of such a big public company, coming to work every day with his mentally impaired girlfriend, it's hilarious. Maybe it's just for show, to keep the stock price stable and support us all. Then I should pray for the boss and his girlfriend's eternal love. Ha ha ha, I saw her wet herself, and the CEO even squatted down to clean it up, so gross. I stayed in the bathroom until they were all gone before coming out. Looking at myself in the mirror, my shirt was untucked from my skirt, the zipper misaligned. I tried to fix it but couldn't get it right. I knew it was time to leave. Chapter 11. Summer had caught a cold a few days ago and fell ill. She refused to go to the company with Gavin. He called a caregiver to watch over her, planning to handle work matters and rush back to be with her. Before leaving in the morning, Summer came over and kissed him. She even took his ring from his ring finger. She said she wanted to get them cleaned together. Gavin promised Summer that he would bring her a small cake from a bakery in the suburbs when he came back. During the day, there was some trouble at the company, and Gavin was held up. By the time he got home, the sunset cast dazzling rays on the marble floor. In the kitchen, the caregiver was humming a tune, brushing egg wash on pastries. Gavin asked, "Where's Summer?" "Sleeping upstairs." Gavin walked up the stairs and noticed the cross-stitched sachet hanging on the wall was missing. The leather band on the curio shelf was also gone. He frowned and hurriedly pushed open the bedroom door. The setting sun shone through the window, flaunting its light. The room was empty, the bed neatly made, with a letter lying on top. Gavin, trembling, opened it. Summer's handwriting was crooked, the ink different colors, it must have been written intermittently over a long time. A breakup letter to Gavin. Gavin, I still believe that the decision made back in the year was the right one. I asked the doctor, and it seems I won't have many clear days ahead. Although I want to walk this path with you, I fear our future. Just as you can't bear to see me hurt and in pain because you love me, I love you too, so I hope your future will be bright and brilliant. The path we've walked together ends here. I found a nursing home where I can quietly spend the rest of my life. I promised to celebrate your birthday every year, but I can't keep that promise. I might not remember in the future, so I'll wish you many happy birthdays in advance. You will find someone else who loves you and spend the rest of your life with her. I'm sorry, unilaterally announcing a breakup is a very cruel thing to do, but my clear moments are limited. One moment of weakness could lead to hurting you. I don't want to take that risk. Gavin, it was nice knowing you. Goodbye. The sun sank below the horizon. The room dimmed. The toys were gone, and all traces of Summer's life were completely erased. Gavin suddenly covered his face and burst into tears. As spring drew to a close, Summer left him completely. She was gone. Chapter 12. This seaside city has no distinct seasons. The wind from the ocean always carries a bit of chill, but it's never bone-chilling. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. Do you really have no family? Summer was sitting by the window folding paper, while the caregiver behind her complained as she tidied up the bed. I was supposed to be on vacation. If it weren't for you, I'd be home. Summer couldn't quite understand the occasional dialect words the caregiver used. Even the paper folding competition was something she learned about through guesswork a few days ago. Hey, stop folding, no one's participating in that competition. The caregiver snatched the paper frog from Summer's hands and threw it in the trash. In the first few months after her arrival, the nursing home treated this young lady without family but with a clear mind fairly politely. However, no one could tolerate her unpredictable temper. She didn't like interacting with people and was stubborn. Every day she would stay in her room, folding paper frogs and throwing them everywhere. After hastily tidying up the room, the caregiver left. It was the Mid-Autumn Festival today, and many patients' families had come and were gathered in the dining hall. She had to go help. Summer stayed in her small room until she got hungry. Driven by instinct, she left the room to find the kitchen, but she got lost on the way. When Gavin drove a long way to this nursing home, he saw his Summer stumbling after a scarf being blown by the wind. The staff passing by were indifferent. She couldn't catch it and fell. Her backpack spilled out a bunch of paper frogs. Gavin ordered the driver to stop and quickly walked towards Summer. The security guard suddenly noticed. "Excuse me, sir, may I ask who you are?" Gavin's driver handed a business card to the guard. "My master is this young lady's family. Please inform the director immediately." Gavin walked up to Summer and helped her up from the ground. Her disheveled appearance cut deep into his heart. She looked at Gavin blankly. "You are?" "I'm Gavin." Such a handsome man, his forced smile looked really ugly. Summer felt a bit sympathetic towards him and stuffed her backpack into his arms. Gavin opened it to find it full of paper frogs. "Are these for me?" Summer nodded. Gavin put the small backpack on his back and patiently wiped her face with a handkerchief. Summer suddenly started crying, hungry. He knew it, someone always bullied Summer when he wasn't around. He felt sad and couldn't hold back his tears. "Why are you crying?" Summer wiped Gavin's tears, a bit flustered. "I'm not hungry anymore, please don't cry." Gavin held her tightly, finally letting out the emotions he'd been holding in for so long. He really scared Summer. She thought he was crazy, crying and laughing, holding on and not letting go. Just behind a door, Gavin was furiously yelling at the director. Summer had paid the money but did not receive the care she deserved. Simply because she had no family. When Gavin opened the door with a stern face, Summer was holding her doll, thinking of escaping. Gavin grabbed her inside, no running off. To Summer, it seemed as if she suddenly had a very grumpy male nanny. Not only was he good-looking, but he also lost his temper at others. But he treated her quite well. She started to like him. "Where do we start folding the frog?" Gavin asked earnestly. Summer taught him seriously. "First, you need a square, then fold it like this." Gavin learned quickly and folded very well. What would take a month for her, he completed in 3 days. With nothing left to teach him, Summer was dejected. I have nothing more to teach you, you can leave now. Gavin was relentless. In return, I can take you out to play. Summer was thin-skinned and didn't know how to refuse people, especially someone she liked a bit. On a warm, sunny afternoon, Gavin took Summer home. She no longer remembered their past. Looking at the photos on the wall, she said, "Your girlfriend is really pretty." Gavin lowered his head and kissed her lips. "That's you." Summer blushed and covered her mouth. "How can you be so casual?" Gavin took her around the house, showing her every corner. The walls were covered with sticky notes, telling their stories. Summer stood by the railing reading them. As she read, a wave of sadness surged in her heart. It seemed she had truly lost something. Gavin never forced her to remember anything, still taking her to the company every day. After the few gossiping employees were fired, no one dared to spread rumors. On the way home from work, Gavin would still buy Summer small cakes, letting her sit in the front seat, humming tunes and talking about fantastical things. Many people privately said that Gavin's future seemed bleak. But they didn't know, as long as Summer was there, every day was bright for him. Summer's memories resurfaced suddenly one evening. It was a Friday, and the post-work traffic had clogged the wide streets. Red brake lights flickered in the sunset's afterglow. Summer heard a familiar song, the theme song from the movie Ambiguity. The scene of Gavin with his guitar, confessing to her in the evening breeze, suddenly flooded her mind. She abruptly looked up at the not-so-young man before her. Memories came rushing back. It turned out she had loved him for so many years. "Gavin." Summer called him softly. "Yes." Gavin thought she was interested in a roadside stall. His gaze shifted to meet Summer's bright, tearful eyes, and suddenly, his blood seemed to freeze. The lover he'd waited for years suddenly remembered him at this moment. Summer smiled through her tears. "Thank you for being here when I woke up, finding myself still by your side." Gavin pulled the car over and hugged Summer tightly. Years of grievances turned into tears, soaking her collar. "You said, if you remembered everything, you'd tell me where you hid the household register." Gavin's voice was hoarse. "Will you marry me?" The evening heat had yet to dissipate, and they kissed. After many seasons, Gavin finally kept Summer by his side.